How does a noble family survive for 200 years in China's deadliest game of power? In the brutal arena of imperial politics, the aristocrats closest to the center are always the first to be sacrificed. In the feudal states of Europe, a noble house might last for 10 generations, hundreds of years. But they were often protected by private armies, formidable castles, and laws of inheritance that granted them a degree of sovereignty. In ancient China, however, the game was infinitely harder. Power was not decentralized, it was hyper-centralized. All authority flowed to a single source, the emperor. Dynasties rose and fell like the seasons, and every new regime began with a ruthless purge of the old elite. In this environment, a non-imperial noble title was often a disposable good. It was a reward for one man's spectacular service, to be enjoyed by him alone, and then quickly lost by his descendants, due to the emperor's suspicion, a court intrigue, or simply for backing the wrong side in a power struggle. And this brings us to a crucial distinction. When a Western audience hears Marquis or fiefdom, they imagine a feudal lord ruling over a territory. But that was not the Chinese system. We must explain the Han dynasty's Shi system. A Han Marquis did not rule his fief. He did not own the land. He was merely granted the right to collect taxes from that region, while the administrative control of the land remained firmly in the hands of the central government. In essence, he was a salaried employee on a performance contract, and the emperor could fire him or his entire family at any moment. This system left the nobility with no structural power to defend themselves. A European duke could raise his banners in rebellion against his king. A Chinese marquis could only kneel and beg. Every non-imperial noble in China was a Ned Stark in King's Landing, the honorable hand of the king, neck on the chopping block, not a king in the north who could summon his own banners. But even within this cruel and bloody game of power, one family of marquises achieved the impossible. They successfully passed down their title for 8 generations, surviving for 200 years. They outlasted more than a dozen emperors and thrived under 3 different dynasties. Even the official histories consider it a miracle of Chinese feudal politics. This family was the House of Zhang, the Marquises of Fuping. Their fiefdom, their Shi, was Fuping, a territory on the plains of the Yellow River. Now, let us uncover how this miracle was born. What did they do right? And what lessons can their story teach us today? Every great dynasty needs a cornerstone. For the Zhang family, that stone was laid by a man named Tang. He was not a cautious man, he was a terrifying one. Tang began his career as a low-level scribe in the capital, Chang'an, but through sheer talent and ruthlessness, he climbed the ranks to become the Ting Wei, the Minister of Justice, under the reign of Emperor Wu of Han. To understand Tang, you must understand the term Ku Li, a harsh official. A Ku Li wasn't just a cruel or corrupt judge. He was a political weapon wielded by the emperor to crush his enemies. Emperor Wu, one of the most powerful and iron-fisted rulers in Chinese history, was determined to break the power of the entrenched old aristocracy, and Tang was the cleaner he used to destroy them. According to the records of the grand historian, Tang was a master of deep and intricate interpretation of the law, meaning he could twist the legal code to convict anyone the emperor wanted convicted. He was relentless, efficient, and cleared the path for his master, consolidating imperial power. In return, he was showered with immense wealth and prestige. He had completed his family's primitive accumulation, rising from an insignificant clerk to one of the most powerful men in the empire. But being the emperor's weapon always comes at a price. When Tang's enemies, pushed to their limit, finally united to impeach him for corruption, his master, the very emperor he had served so loyally, simply stood by and watched. According to the Book of Han, cornered and abandoned, Tang ultimately chose to take his own life. This was the first and most important lesson for the Zhang family. Tang had absolute loyalty to the throne, but that wasn't enough. He had immense power, but that power made him a target for everyone. His death left his sons with the family's founding trauma. Power is not a shield, it is a curse. It burns the hand that holds it for too long. The true architect of the Zhang family's 200-year legacy was Zhang Tang's son, Zhang Anshi, and he was, in almost every way, the opposite of his father. The Book of Han describes him as benevolent, humble, and, most importantly, Jin, meaning extremely prudent and cautious. After his father's death, perhaps out of a sliver of pity for his former instrument, Emperor Wu allowed the son, Zhang Anshi, to enter the bureaucracy. But Zhang Anshi had learned his father's lesson well. He was present at court, but he made himself invisible. His great opportunity came after Emperor Wu's death, during the regency of the powerful minister Huo Guang. Huo Guang was the most powerful man in China, so powerful that he could, and did, depose an emperor. He was the center of all political gravity. He chose Zhang Anshi as his aide, promoting him to a general of the Imperial Guard. Zhang Anshi played a key role in deposing one emperor, enthroning two new ones, and foiling a coup. So, was Zhang Anshi simply Huo Guang's loyal satellite? While everyone else flocked to this emperor-maker, Zhang Anshi deliberately kept his distance. The Book of Han records a telling detail. Whenever he was in a meeting with Huo Guang and a messenger arrived from Huo Guang's wife, Zhang Anshi would immediately stand up and leave the room. He refused to be present for any discussion that might involve private affairs. He would not join a faction. He would not be drawn into a conspiracy. The Book of Han also records that when Huo Guang finally decided to promote Zhang Anshi to the highest post, Zhang Anshi was not pleased. He was so terrified by the appointment that cold sweat soaked the clothes on his back. He immediately submitted his resignation, convinced that this power was a trap. This extreme caution made him the safest man in China. He was seen as a politician with zero ambition. And for this, the emperor finally granted him the title of Marquis of Fuping, stating the reason as, "For 13 years he has been diligent, respectful, and never once negligent." The family finally had its title, and according to detailed historical records, Zhang Anshi, the master architect, established a set of rules for his descendants to ensure their survival. This became the Fuping Code. This code set the spiritual tone for the family for the next 200 years. 1. Absolute loyalty. But only to the emperor himself, never to a powerful minister, an empress dowager, or a bureaucratic faction. 2. Absolute caution. Remain invisible. Never join a party. Power is a hot potato. If someone hands it to you, drop it immediately. 3. Proactive renunciation of power. Actively refuse promotions and rewards. This proves to the throne that you are not a threat. 4. Continuous labor and self-sufficiency. Even after becoming a marquis, Zhang Anshi required his family to work. His wife was known to personally spin and weave cloth. Though wealthy, they lived simply. This made them financially independent, immune to corruption, and appear humble in the eyes of the emperor. 5. Extreme emphasis on education. Every son had to master the Confucian classics. Competence was paramount. Not the competence to seize power, but the competence to provide utility. The Fuping Code was immediately put to the test in the second generation. Zhang Anshi had 3 incredibly talented sons. The eldest, Zhang Tianqiu, was a brilliant military commander. When he returned from a campaign alongside Huo Guang's own son, the regent asked them for details about the battle plans. Huo Guang's son couldn't answer, but Zhang Tianqiu recited every detail perfectly. Huo Guang reportedly sighed and said, "The Huo family is destined to decline. The future belongs to the Zhangs." And indeed, Zhang Tianqiu later provided crucial strategic insights in several campaigns. Tragically, he died young before he could inherit the title. But his life was a testament to the success of the family's focus on competence. The title, therefore, passed to the second son, Zhang Yanshou. Zhang Yanshou inherited the title. He also inherited a staggering fortune. and here we see the code in action. The Book of Han states, Yanshou's annual income from his fief exceeded 10 million cash coins. What does that mean? Based on our previous calculations of purchasing power in that era, it was enough to buy 20,000 tons of grain. It was a colossal sum, a dangerous amount of wealth. So, what did Zhang Yanshou do? He didn't throw lavish banquets, he didn't build palaces, he panicked. He, believing himself to be without merit, repeatedly submitted memorials, begging the emperor to reduce the number of households in his fief. He argued that he had done nothing to deserve such wealth, that his virtue did not match his position. He repeatedly pleaded with the emperor to take some of it back. This was not just humility, it was a masterful political strategy. He was proactively neutralizing the emperor's potential jealousy. He was, in effect, saying, I am not greedy. I am not a threat. I know I don't deserve this. Your Majesty, please take it away. He even used his younger brother, a close friend of the emperor, to plead his case in person. Finally, the emperor relented. The Son of Heaven, believing in his sincerity, ordered his fiefdom to be consolidated and his tax income to be cut in half. Zhang Yanshou traded 5 million cash coins a year for 100% political security for his family. This was the essence of the Fuping Code. Meanwhile, though he may have lacked his brother's military genius, Zhang Yanshou ensured his own son was well educated in military affairs. His son, Zhang Bo, the third Marquis of Fuping, later discovered a brilliant but unknown officer named Tang and recommended him to the emperor. He even suffered a reduction of 200 households from his fief when Tang broke the law. But what did this Tang bring to the empire? He led an expedition that utterly annihilated a rival Xiongnu chieftain and delivered a war cry that is still used in China today. Anyone who dares to offend the mighty Han, no matter how far away, will be hunted down and exterminated. Caution was the Zhang family's shield, but they also had an insurance policy, personal connection. The first bond came from Zhang Anshi's youngest son, Zhang Pengzu. When the legendary Emperor Xuan was still a commoner, living in obscurity, he was cared for and educated by Zhang Anshi's older brother, Zhang He. Zhang He even wanted to marry his daughter to the future emperor, but Zhang Anshi, out of absolute loyalty to the reigning emperor, strictly forbade it. But because the future Emperor Xuan studied in Zhang He's household, he and Zhang Anshi's youngest son, Zhang Pengzu, grew up as childhood classmates and best friends. When Emperor Xuan took the throne, Zhang Hu had already passed away. To repay his kindness, the new emperor had Zhang Pengzu adopted as Zhang He's son, granted him a Marquis title, and personally chose their residence, on the very same street where he himself used to play as a boy. Zhang Pengzu didn't leave a significant political legacy like his brothers, and his end was tragic. Despite the emperor's favor, he was poisoned by his own concubine. But his friendship with the emperor, a bond that transcended politics, gave the Zhang family a direct, informal line to the throne, bypassing the treacherous currents of the court. The second bond was even stronger. Zhang Yanshou's great-grandson, Zhang Lin, the fourth Marquis of Fuping, married Emperor Chuan's daughter, the Princess Jingwu. The Zhang family was now officially part of the imperial clan. This move seemed to violate the cautious code of invisibility. Marrying into the royal family is the opposite of keeping a low profile. But this shows the flexibility of the code. The marriage provided a new layer of protection. Who would dare to purge the emperor's own in-laws? But it also dragged the family into the kill zone at the very heart of imperial power. And indeed, this royal marriage proved to be beyond the family's control. The famous Princess Jingwu married 3 times in her life. Zhang Lin was only her first husband. After his death, she married the son of another general. After he died, she married her father's prime minister. But from these 3 marriages, she had only one son, the 5th Marquis of Fuping, Zhang Fang. And perhaps it was the infusion of this unique royal DNA that made Zhang Fang's life so utterly different from that of his ancestors. The core of the Fuping Code was the suppression of self, ambition, and personality. But you cannot suppress nature. As the son of Princess Jingwu, Zhang Fang had a half-royal lineage, and he was the complete antithesis of his cautious forefathers. The Book of Han does not place him in the biographies of statesmen. It places him in the biographies of flattering favorites. He was handsome, charming, and the childhood friend and favorite companion of the extravagant Emperor Cheng. When the young emperor neglected his duties for a life of pleasure, Zhang Fang was his chief playmate. It was with him that the emperor snuck out of the palace in disguise and first laid eyes on the infamous femme fatale, Zhao Feiyan. This made him, and the entire Zhang family behind him, a massive target. The conservative faction at court, led by the Empress Dowager Wang Zhengjun and her powerful Wang clan, despised Zhang Fang. They saw him as a symbol of the emperor's corruption and attacked him relentlessly. The pressure mounted. Emperor Cheng was forced to exile his best friend from the capital several times, only to quickly recall him. The safe reputation the Zhang family had cultivated for nearly a century was now on the brink of collapse. Then the crisis reached its peak. Emperor Cheng died suddenly. Zhang Fang had lost his only protector. It says that after the emperor's death, Zhang Fang died of grief from mourning. The timing is too convenient, the cause too dramatic. But whether it was suicide or a political illness, Zhang Fang was dead. This was the line that was nearly broken. But why nearly? Because while Zhang Fang was a favorite, his crimes were mostly personal, corrupting the emperor and distracting him from producing an heir. Compared to another of the emperor's favorites, who was caught selling offices, embezzling funds, and even harassing imperial concubines, Zhang Fang's behavior was relatively restrained. Zhang Fang's death, though tragic, saved the Marquisate of Fuping. He acted as a lightning rod. He alone absorbed all the family's guilt and blame. With his death, the matter was closed. Had he lived even a year longer, the Zhang family would likely not have survived the subsequent purge of Emperor Cheng's favorites carried out by Wang Mang. Of course, it also helped that he had a son as brilliant as his ancestor. The new Marquis of Fuping was named Zhang Chun. Like his father, he had an impeccable pedigree. His mother was from the powerful Shu clan, which had produced 2 empresses. But when he inherited the title after his father's sudden death, he found himself in a near-fatal predicament. The Han dynasty was collapsing, and the Wang clan was about to take its place. He had to make a choice: remain loyal to the crumbling House of Liu or switch allegiance to the new center of power. Wang Mang. Zhang Chun was the true heir of Zhang Anshi. His choice was not to be loyal to a person, but to the throne. The emperor at the time was a powerless boy puppet. The real throne was occupied by the Grand Marshal, Wang Mang. The historical records show his choice. As the Marquis of Fuping, he led a delegation of 920 court officials to formally petition Wang Mang to accept the 9 bestowments. We must explain the 9 bestowments to our audience. This was not just 9 gifts. It was a set of special ritual objects, carriages, robes, and weapons that were the legitimate signal of a transfer of the mandate of heaven. By leading this petition, Zhang Chun was giving Wang Mang the aristocratic endorsement for his usurpation. He was, politically, helping to legitimize Wang Mang's seizure of power. It was a cold, shrewd, and absolutely correct decision. From the perspective of the time, the abandonment of the House of Liu was a consensus among the elite. No one could have stopped it. When Wang Mang established his Xin dynasty, Zhang Chun kept his title. He had successfully survived the death of the Han dynasty. But just over a decade later, Wang Mang's Xin dynasty collapsed in fire and rebellion. A distant relative of the Han imperial clan, Liu Xiu, restored the Han dynasty, becoming known to history as Emperor Guangwu. Zhang Chun's identity was now that of a traitor. He should have been immediately executed, but he wasn't. Why? Because the family's generations-long emphasis on competence had borne fruit. His personal skills were simply too valuable to lose. Let's jump back for a moment to a small story about Zhang Anshi. After Emperor Wu, perhaps out of guilt, gave the young man a minor post, the emperor discovered that he was diligent, cautious, and incredibly gifted. It was said that Zhang Anshi was first noticed for his beautiful calligraphy. But one day, 3 chests of books went missing from the palace. Only Zhang Anshi could recite all of their contents from memory. When the books were found, his recitation was compared against them and found to be flawless. It was then that Emperor Wu, seeing his phenomenal memory and talent, began to truly promote him. The same story repeated itself 100 years later. After Emperor Guangwu restored the empire, he wanted to re-establish the old court systems and regulations, but most of the records had been destroyed in the war. Across the entire court, only one man could recite the complete archives from memory: Chun. He was, in effect, a living backup of the dynastic system. How could an emperor not value such a talent? The histories say that Emperor Guangwu consulted him on nearly all institutional matters, sometimes meeting with him several times in a single day. And beyond his political knowledge, Chun also seemed to have inherited the family's military aptitude. He commanded the Yingchuan cavalry, inspected military garrisons, and supervised agricultural colonies for soldiers. He was a man of both the pen and the sword. Such a versatile talent, as long as he wasn't plotting treason, would be a high-value asset in any era. So, when someone later argued that Marquises of the former dynasty are not qualified to have their titles restored, Emperor Guangwu firmly declared, "Chun is different. Not only will I continue his marquisate, I will make him the Minister of Works." The Zhang family now entered the long second half of their story. Chun served as the Minister of Works for 10 years, dying in 56 AD. His long life rivaled that of his ancestor, Anshi. He was the perfect, safe prime minister. The Book of the later Han records that he focused on infrastructure. He built a canal to connect the capital with the Yellow River, and on ritual, revising court regulations. He commanded no armies, he controlled no finances. He was powerful but utterly non-threatening. But the Fuping Code had one final and most absurd performance. As Chun lay on his deathbed, he gave his family one last instruction. "As a minister, I have contributed nothing of merit to our time. After I die, do not even discuss having my son inherit my title." His son, Zhang Fen, obeyed his father's will. When Emperor Guangwu issued the decree, preparing to pass the title of Marquis of Wuxi, the family's new title, to him as was customary, Zhang Fen, citing his father's last wish, firmly refused to accept. This was the ultimate form of the Fuping Code. Yanshou had only refused wealth. Zhang Fen was now refusing the title itself. The emperor was in a bind. He needed to reward loyalty and maintain order. Zhang Fen's refusal was, in a way, a challenge to the imperial system. So, the emperor, annoyed, did the only thing he could do. He issued an edict to have Zhang Fen arrested and thrown in prison. It was only in his prison cell that Zhang Fen finally agreed to inherit the marquisate. This was the ultimate performance of not wanting power. He had to be forced to be a nobleman. And therefore, he became the safest nobleman in the empire. The Zhang family's survival was now beyond question. Like his father, Zhang Fen served quietly, also rising to the post of Minister of Works, and then retired peacefully. The family line continued. His son, Zhang Fu, inherited the title. His grandson, Zhang Ji, inherited the title. They held minor, insignificant posts, stayed far from the center of power, and lived quiet lives. Then, in the year 109 AD, nearly 200 years after Zhang Anshi had won the title for his family through caution, the 8th-generation Marquis, Zhang Ji, passed away. The Book of the later Han gives the 200-year-old family a simple, quiet epitaph. With no heir to succeed him, the marquisate was abolished. No political purge, no conspiracy, no dramatic fall from grace. The family line had simply, naturally, ended. The marquisate was reclaimed by the state. The Zhang family didn't lose the game. They simply, after 200 years, completed it. The survival of the Marquises of Fuping was a 200-year-long political miracle. They successfully navigated a system designed to destroy them. They relied not on armies or wealth, but on a precise algorithm of survival, a family code passed down from generation to generation. First, education. Every descendant had to be a scholar or a general, possessing outstanding competence, ensuring the family was always useful to the empire and the emperor. Second, connection. They used personal friendships and marriage alliances to build intricate relationships with the imperial power and other nobles, insurance policies that could, at times, make things more complicated. Third, utility. They made themselves useful but never powerful. They focused on the safest domains: ritual, history, precedent, and infrastructure. Fourth, the bottom line. They knew when to cut their losses, to sacrifice the family's outliers to save the whole. And woven through it all were the two core principles: caution and contentment. They survived by remaining invisible. They survived by fearing power. They survived by publicly and repeatedly refusing the very wealth and status that others would kill for. In the bloody, high-stakes game of power in ancient China, the ultimate winning secret of the House of Zhang was this: the best way to hold on to power safely is to prove to everyone that you don't want it at all.